I walked through my front door after 3 weeks at the rehabilitation center to find my son's fiancée sitting at my desk, signing papers with my lawyer's letterhead on them. My son Derek stood behind her with his hands in his pockets, staring at the floor. She looked up at me and smiled. Thomas, perfect timing. We were just finalizing the power of attorney transfer. The house will be much easier to manage with me handling everything. I set down my cane and took a slow breath. Is that right? I said quietly. She had no idea she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. But before I tell you how this played out, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button and let me know where you're watching from. I'm sharing this story because sometimes the people who smile the widest are the ones you need to watch the closest. Now, let me take you back to where this nightmare started. My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm 65 years old, retired from running a commercial construction company in Phoenix. Spent 40 years building shopping centers, office buildings, warehouses. Made good money, invested smart, and bought a property outside Scottsdale back in 2003. 4 acres with a main house, guest house, and enough desert landscape that my late wife Rebecca used to joke, we owned half of Arizona. She passed 3 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. One day she was planting mesquite trees by the driveway. The next day she was gone. The property felt massive after that. Too much space, too much silence, too many memories in every room. Derek is my only child, 32 years old, works as a pharmaceutical sales rep. Good kid growing up, made decent grades, played baseball in high school, went to ASU. After Rebecca died, he started coming around more, checking on me, making sure I wasn't drowning in grief. I appreciated it. A man my age living alone, you start to wonder if anyone would notice if something happened. Then about a year ago, Derek started bringing Vanessa around, 28 years old, blonde hair always perfectly styled, nails always done, clothes that screamed expensive even though Derek later told me she had $30,000 in credit card debt. She worked as a wellness influencer, which as far as I could tell meant she took photos of herself drinking smoothies and posted them online. Derek was smitten, completely blind to what I saw immediately. I noticed things. The way Vanessa walked through my house, touching everything, picking up Rebecca's pottery collection and commenting on how much space it took up. The way she'd ask detailed questions about my finances, my investments, my properties, all while laughing like it was just casual conversation. The way she'd interrupt Derek constantly, finish his sentences, speak for him, and Derek would just nod along like a trained dog. 6 months ago, Derek called me. He was nervous. I could hear it in his voice. Dad, I need to ask you something. Vanessa and I are getting married. I waited, and she's having some issues with her lease. Her landlord is selling the building. She needs a place to stay for a few weeks while we figure out our housing situation. Could she stay in the guest house? Just temporarily. I should have said no. Rebecca would have said no. But Derek was my son, and the guest house was sitting empty, and I told myself I was being paranoid. 2 weeks, I said. Maximum. Thanks, Dad. You won't even know she's there. 2 weeks became a month. A month became 3. Every time I brought it up, Vanessa had an excuse. The housing market was impossible. They were waiting for Derek's bonus to come through. She had a big sponsorship deal about to close that would change everything. And Derek would back her up every time, apologizing, promising it wouldn't be much longer. I let it go. I kept my distance. The guest house was 300 feet from the main house. I could pretend she wasn't there most days. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was not installing security cameras earlier. I'd been meaning to do it for years, especially after Rebecca passed. Living alone in a property this size, you need to know what's happening. But I kept putting it off. After Vanessa moved in, something made me finally do it. Call it instinct, call it paranoia. But I hired a company and had cameras installed everywhere. Front gate, driveway, both entrances to the main house, the garage, even the office. Discrete cameras, the kind you barely notice. I didn't tell anyone, not Derek, not Vanessa, just me and the security company. Then 4 months ago, I started having chest pains. Went to the doctor, ran some tests, blocked arteries. They scheduled me for a triple bypass. Major surgery, 3 to 4 weeks of recovery, most of it at a cardiac rehabilitation center. Derek seemed genuinely worried. Vanessa seemed concerned too, but I caught her asking the nurse about my care plan and whether I'd need long-term assistance. I went into surgery on a Monday, in late August. The operation went well. I woke up in ICU with tubes everywhere, and Derek sitting beside the bed. "You scared me, Dad," he said, and I believed him. Vanessa was there too, standing by the window, scrolling through her phone. The rehabilitation center was nice, quiet. The staff was attentive. The physical therapy was grueling, but effective. Derek visited twice the first week, then once the second week, then not at all the third week. When I called him, he sounded distracted. "Just busy with work, Dad." "You're doing great. The nurses say you'll be home soon." Something felt wrong. I couldn't pinpoint it. Just a nagging feeling in my gut that something was happening while I was laid up in that rehab center. On my 18th day there, I opened the security camera app on my phone. I'd barely looked at it since the surgery, too focused on recovery. What I saw made my blood pressure spike so high, a nurse came running. Vanessa was in my house, not the guest house, my house, the main house. And she wasn't just visiting, she was living there. I scrolled through the footage, her moving boxes in, her redecorating, her sitting at my desk in my office, going through my files. I watched 3 weeks of footage in 20 minutes, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. The nurse wanted to sedate me. I refused. I called Derek. It went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Third time, he answered. "Hey, Dad, what's up? Are you okay?" "Why is Vanessa in my house?" Silence. Derek. "Why is your fiancée living in my house?" "Dad, let me explain. She thought it would be easier to keep an eye on things if she was in the main house. You know, make sure everything's okay while you're gone. I have a security system for that." "Right, but this way, look, we were going to talk to you about this. Vanessa has some ideas about making the property more manageable for you when you come home. Some modifications that'll make things easier." My chest felt tight. "What kind of modifications?" "Just some updates. Don't worry about it. Focus on getting better. We'll talk when you're home." He hung up. I immediately called my lawyer, Richard Santos. We'd worked together for 25 years. He answered on the second ring. "Thomas, how are you feeling?" "Richard, I need you to listen carefully." I told him everything. The footage, the conversation with Derek, my suspicions. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Thomas, this sounds like financial exploitation, possibly elder fraud. If she's accessing your documents, your accounts, without your permission, what can we do? First, I need to see that footage. Second, don't confront them yet. Let me make some calls. And Thomas, change every password you have. Bank accounts, investment accounts, everything." I spent that night on my laptop, changing passwords, setting up two-factor authentication, checking my bank statements. Everything looked normal so far. But I found something else. An email in my spam folder from my bank flagged as suspicious, asking me to verify a request to add an authorized user to my accounts. I'd never seen it because it went to spam. The request was dated 2 weeks ago. The name on the request was Vanessa Morgan. I called Richard back. She tried to add herself to my accounts. "Forward me that email. I'm calling the bank first thing in the morning. In the meantime, I'm filing an emergency injunction. And Thomas? Document everything. Every conversation, every piece of footage, everything." The next day, Richard called back. The bank caught it. They flagged it as suspicious because the IP address didn't match your usual location. She tried to do it from your house, from your computer, but the bank's fraud detection stopped it. So she couldn't access anything? Not the accounts, no. But Thomas, I checked with the county recorder's office. There's a deed transfer request that was filed last week. Someone is trying to transfer your property into a trust with Vanessa Morgan as the trustee. My vision went white. What? It's been flagged because the signature doesn't match their records. But if it had gone through, she would have had legal ownership. Thomas, this is a coordinated attack. She's been planning this. I left the rehab center 2 days later, against medical advice. I was still weak, still recovering, but I wasn't staying away another day while someone tried to steal my life's work. I called a former Marine buddy of mine, Jack Patterson, who now worked as a private investigator. Jack, I need deep background on someone, everything you can find. Criminal history, civil suits, previous addresses, associations. Who are we looking at? Vanessa Morgan, 28, currently engaged to my son. Give me 48 hours. I didn't go straight home from the rehab center. I went to Richard's office. We spent 3 hours going through every piece of evidence. The security footage, the email, the deed transfer attempt, my account statements. Richard had already filed the injunction, but now we were building something bigger. Thomas, I can get her out of your house, but I think we should involve the police. This isn't just a civil matter. This is fraud, attempted theft, forgery. These are felonies. What about Derek? I asked quietly. What about him? He's my son. If we go criminal and he's involved. Richard took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Then your son is committing felony fraud against his own father. Thomas, I know this is hard, but you need to protect yourself. Jack called the next morning. You're going to want to sit down for this. I was already sitting in my truck, parked 3 houses down from my own property, watching through binoculars. Tell me, Vanessa Morgan, real name Vanessa Kowalski, changed it legally 4 years ago. Prior to that, she lived in Denver, worked as a caregiver for an elderly man named Harold Chen. 6 months into the job, Chen's daughter discovered Vanessa had convinced her father to add her to his bank accounts and credit cards. Over $200,000 missing. The family filed charges, but Chen had dementia and couldn't testify. DA dropped it. My stomach turned. Before Denver, she was in Portland. Lived with a 72-year-old widower named George Martinez for almost a year. Convinced him she was going to help him manage his investments. Cleaned out 3 of his retirement accounts. His son found out and threatened to go to the police. She disappeared before they could file charges. And Thomas? There are 2 more cases before that. Sacramento and Seattle. Same pattern. Targets older men, usually recent widowers, moves in under some pretense, gains access to finances, disappears with whatever she can get. I sat there in my truck, hands gripping the steering wheel. My son, Derek, is he involved or is he a victim? That's harder to say. I found some interesting financial records, though. Derek's got significant debt, credit cards, a car loan that's underwater, personal loans. He's drowning. And in the past 6 months, there have been cash deposits into his account totaling about $20,000. Can't trace the source, but the timing aligns with when Vanessa moved in. He's being paid. Looks that way. I'm sorry, Thomas. I thanked Jack, hung up, and sat there watching my house, my property, the place Rebecca and I built our life, and somewhere in there, my son was helping a con artist try to steal it from me. I called Richard. We're going criminal. File a police report? I want her arrested. Are you sure? Completely. That afternoon, I drove up to my gate and punched in the code. It didn't work. She'd changed it. I pulled out my phone, opened the security system app, and overrode it remotely. The gate swung open. I drove up the long driveway, past Rebecca's mesquite trees, and parked in front of my house. The front door was locked. I used my key. It didn't work. She'd changed the locks too. But I'd planned for this. I walked around to the side entrance by the garage, the one that opened into the mudroom. That lock hadn't been changed. I let myself in. The house was quiet. I could hear music playing upstairs, something pop and mindless. I walked slowly through the first floor, taking it in. The living room had been rearranged. Rebecca's photos were gone from the mantel. The kitchen had new appliances I'd never seen before. Expensive ones. Price tags still attached. My office door was closed. I opened it. Vanessa was sitting at my desk, laptop open, papers spread everywhere. She looked up, and for just a second, I saw fear flash across her face. Then she smiled. Thomas, you're home early. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. We? Derek emerged from the hallway behind me. Hey, Dad, you should still be at rehab. The doctor said. The doctor said a lot of things. I looked at my son, really looked at him. He couldn't meet my eyes. Derek, would you give me and your father a moment? Vanessa said, her voice sweet as poison. No, I said. Derek stays. I want him to hear this. I walked to the desk and looked down at the papers. Power of attorney documents, deed transfer requests, trust agreements, all with my forged signature. These are very impressive, I said quietly. Very official looking. Must have taken you a long time to prepare. Vanessa's smile didn't waver. Thomas, I think you're confused. These are documents we had prepared to help you. After your surgery, we thought it would be easier if you had control of my property and my finances. If we could help you manage things. You're not getting any younger. This house is too much for you. Derek and I can take care of everything. Is that what you told Harold Chen in Denver? What about George Martinez in Portland? Did you help them manage things too? The smile disappeared. Derek's head snapped up. What's he talking about? I kept my eyes on Vanessa. Your fiancée is a professional con artist. She targets elderly men, moves in, gains access to their finances, and steals everything she can. She's done it at least 5 times before. And you, son, you've been helping her. That's insane, Vanessa said, standing up. Derek, your father is clearly not well. The medication from the surgery. I have security cameras, I said. Every room, every entrance. 3 weeks of footage of you going through my files, using my computer, forging my signature. I have emails showing you tried to add yourself to my bank accounts. I have documents showing you filed a fraudulent deed transfer. And I have a very detailed background report from a private investigator. Derek looked like he might throw up. Dad, I didn't know. You didn't know? I turned to him. The $20,000 deposited into your account over the past 6 months. Where did you think that came from? Vanessa grabbed her purse. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. I agreed. You can listen to it from the police instead. They're on their way. She froze. What? I filed a report this morning. Elder fraud, attempted theft, forgery, identity theft, multiple felonies. They should be here any minute. I checked my watch. Actually, they're probably at the gate now. Vanessa's face transformed. The sweet mask dropped completely, replaced by something cold and vicious. You have no idea what you're doing, old man. Derek and I are in love. We're getting married. This property would have been his eventually anyway. We were just accelerating the process. By stealing it, by taking what should have been his in the first place. You're old, you're alone. What do you need 4 acres for? Derek deserves this. We deserve this. I heard vehicles coming up the driveway. Derek, I said quietly. Last chance. Tell me the truth. Did you know what she was doing? He opened his mouth, closed it. Tears were running down his face. I needed the money, Dad. I'm so far in debt. I didn't think you'd actually get hurt. She said we'd just manage things for a while, that you'd be better off. Get out of my house. Dad, get out of my house. Both of you. The police arrived 3 minutes later. 2 Scottsdale PD officers and a detective from the Financial Crimes Unit. I handed over everything. The hard drives from the security system, the forged documents, Jack's background report, the emails. All of it. They arrested Vanessa right there in my office. Read her rights while she screamed about elder abuse and police brutality and how I was mentally incompetent. They didn't arrest Derek, not yet, but the detective took him outside for questioning. After they left, after they took Vanessa away in handcuffs and Derek drove off without looking back, I stood in my empty house and felt something crack open in my chest. Not the surgery wound, something deeper. The place where I'd been holding on to the image of my son as a good kid who'd just made mistakes. Richard came over that evening. We sat on the back patio, watching the sun set over the desert. They're charging her with 6 felonies. Elder fraud, attempted grand theft, forgery, identity theft, computer fraud, and conspiracy. If convicted, she's looking at 20 years. And Derek, he's cooperating, gave a full statement. He'll probably face charges too, but lighter ones. The DA might offer a deal if he testifies against her. He's my son, I said quietly. I know. Rebecca would know what to do. Rebecca would tell you that you did the right thing, Richard said. You protected yourself. You stopped a predator. You probably saved the next victim. That's what she'd say. The next few weeks were a blur. The police investigation expanded as they found more evidence. Vanessa had been in contact with 2 other elderly men in Arizona, laying groundwork for her next targets. She'd also cleaned out Derek's bank account, taking the $20,000 she'd paid him, along with another $15,000 of his own money. He'd been a mark too, just a useful one. The preliminary hearing was set for November. Derek called me twice. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, crying, apologizing, begging. I listened to them once, then deleted them. I spent those weeks repairing my house, changed all the locks myself, had the security system upgraded, removed everything Vanessa had touched and donated it, repainted the office, put Rebecca's photos back on the mantle. The guest house I converted into a legitimate rental, background check tenants only. Jack Patterson stopped by one afternoon in October. Thought you'd want to know. The police in Denver and Portland are reopening their cases against her. With your evidence, they can make it stick this time. The families are grateful. I'm glad someone is getting closure. You too, Thomas. You stopped her. That takes guts. The trial happened in January, I testified. Showed the footage, explained the timeline, watched Vanessa sit there in her conservative outfit trying to look innocent. Derek testified too. He looked terrible. Thin, gray, older than his 32 years. He confessed everything. His debts, his desperation, how Vanessa had convinced him it wasn't really stealing, just early inheritance planning, how she'd promised to take care of both of us, how she'd made him believe I'd be better off with them managing things. The jury came back in 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 18 years. Derek got probation and community service, contingent on paying restitution, which, with his debts, would probably take him a decade. After the sentencing, Derek waited for me outside the courthouse. I tried to walk past him. "Dad, please." I stopped. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am so sorry. I was stupid and desperate, and I let her manipulate me into betraying you. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make this right. You can't make it right, Derek. You can't give me back my trust. You can't erase what you did. I know, but I want to try, if you'll let me." I looked at my son, the boy I'd raised, the man who'd helped someone try to rob me. Rebecca's voice in my head saying, "People can change, Thomas. People can grow. Start by fixing your own life," I said finally. "Get out of debt. Get therapy. Figure out why you thought this was acceptable. Then maybe we can talk." "Really? Maybe," I repeated. "I'm not promising anything." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me completely." I didn't respond. I walked to my truck and drove home. That was 3 months ago. Derek sends me an email once a week. Updates on his therapy, his debt repayment plan, his new job in medical equipment sales that pays better than pharmaceuticals. I read them. I don't always respond, but I read them. Vanessa is in Arizona State Prison. She'll be eligible for parole in 12 years if she behaves. I hope she uses that time to think about the lives she's destroyed. I doubt she will. As for me, I'm doing okay. The house feels like mine again. I've got a routine. Physical therapy 3 times a week, coffee with Jack on Thursdays, Sunday dinner with Richard and his wife. I joined a widower's support group, which sounds depressing but is actually helpful. Other men who understand what it's like to lose your person and then have to keep living anyway. Sometimes I think about calling Derek, inviting him over, testing whether forgiveness is possible. But then I remember sitting in that rehab center, watching security footage of him helping someone steal my life, and I'm not ready yet. Maybe someday, maybe never. What I learned from all this is simple. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Protect yourself, even from family, especially from family. Document everything, and understand that age doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. I survived 40 years in commercial construction, raised a son, lost the love of my life, and beat cancer twice. I wasn't about to let some con artist in her 20s outsmart me. They thought they were dealing with a confused old man, someone easy to manipulate, someone too tired or too lonely to fight back. They thought wrong, because I didn't fight with anger or violence. I fought with evidence, with the law, with patience and strategy. That's what 40 years of business teaches you. That's what age gives you. The wisdom to know that the system works if you use it correctly. My property is secure now. My finances are locked down. My life is my own again. And every morning when I have my coffee on the back patio, watching the sun come up over the desert, I think about Rebecca. About what she'd say about all this? She'd probably say, I did good, that I stood my ground, that I protected what we built together. And then she'd tell me to let Derek back in someday, because that's who she was. All forgiveness and second chances. I'm working on it. But I'm also 70% certain I made the right choice with those security cameras, and 30% certain that Rebecca somehow planted that idea in my head. Either way, those cameras saved everything. So, if you're my age, living alone, with property or assets worth protecting, do yourself a favor. Install cameras. Change your passwords. Be suspicious of anyone who shows too much interest in your finances. And never, ever sign anything without reading it twice and having your lawyer look at it first. Because the world is full of people like Vanessa, people who see kindness as weakness and age as opportunity. But it's also full of people like Richard and Jack, who have your back when things fall apart. Surround yourself with the right people, trust your gut, and never apologize for protecting what's yours. That's my story. That's what I learned. And if it helps even one person avoid what I went through, then maybe something good came out of this nightmare after all.